What are the potential sources of funds available to settle Illinois dog bite cases? Hi, I'm Josh Rohrscheib. I'm a personal injury lawyer in Central Illinois, and today I'd like to talk to you about the potential sources of funds for a dog bite settlement in Illinois. So the first, and by far the most common, would be a homeowner's insurance claim or a homeowner's insurance policy of the at-fault party. And the at-fault party in dog bite cases is usually the dog's owner. Sometimes it's the party that was in control of or responsible for the dog when the attack occurred. And under their homeowner's policy, there will be general liability coverage. And that coverage is almost always at least $300,000 on homeowners insurance policies we see in Central Illinois. Sometimes it'll be more, but there's usually enough coverage under a homeowner's policy for most dog bite claims. Okay, the second source of recovery. Sometimes people don't own a home, but they're renters and they have renter's insurance. So it could be that they're renting an apartment, townhouse, house, some kind of a dwelling, and they've got a renter's policy. The differences between a renter's policy and a homeowner's policy that would, typically we see that the coverage amounts in renter's policy are lower than in a homeowner's policy. So it may not be that there's 300,000 of coverage, it may only be 100, but it's still worth exploring renter's insurance as a potential source of recovery in a dog bite case. The third source of recovery is another type of personal insurance for liability claims that the at-fault party might carry, and it would be a liability umbrella policy. So it may be that someone doesn't have a renter's policy and doesn't own a home, but they have a personal liability umbrella policy, and a claim for a dog bite case could be brought under a personal umbrella policy. It could also be the case that if you have a high value claim, or if someone's seriously injured, that you would file a claim against both a homeowner's or renter's policy and a personal umbrella policy. And they may or may not be with the same insurance company. So whenever we have a case that has a value that exceeds the homeowner's policy or the renter's insurance policy, it's important to really search to make sure there isn't an umbrella policy available, or determine if there is an umbrella policy available, or require a statement under oath from the defendant as to whether or not there is a liability umbrella policy, because that can be a source of substantial funds to help an injured person. Now, the fourth potential source of recovery is, unfortunately, the personal assets of the at-fault party. And in some cases, it's necessary to try to recover from the assets of the person who was at fault if they do not have any insurance company, any insurance coverage that would be available for the claim. And, often folks who don't have any renter's insurance or any homeowner's insurance also don't have any money. And sadly, in a lot of cases that we've evaluated over the years, there just wasn't a possible source of recovery, because if you got a judgment against someone with no assets, they could just declare bankruptcy. So one of the things that an experienced injury lawyer can do for you is evaluate the case and identify any potential sources of insurance that could be available for your claim, or also do some research on the at-fault party to see if they have substantial personal assets that would be available if needed to satisfy a potential judgment or to settle a case. Now, these are the most common sources of recovery. I should mention that there are other potential sources of recovery. This is kind of an unusual case I handled once. A township adopted a cat, and the cat bit a lady, and she developed a bad infection. And she was one of my favorite clients of all time. She had a pretty good sense of humor about what she went through, but she was still hospitalized for several days, and she had a serious infection. And in that case, there was a township insurance policy that covered the liability claim against the township, because they owned and controlled this cat that bit my client. So we were able to get a nice recovery for her to compensate her for what she went through. But I just thought I'd mention that because I want to be clear that the four sources of recovery I mentioned aren't the only four possible sources. They're just by far the most common. And of those, by far the most common of those four is the homeowner's insurance policy of an at-fault party. If you have any other questions about dog bite claims, please reach out. Be happy to help. Thanks for watching this video.